Now, as we get closer to the trade deadline, Chicago Bulls as a team is facing a lot of pressure to do something this week. It's like that meme where you're pointing a stick and it's like, just do something. And we don't seem to be doing anything. That's super worrying for the outlook of the team. So now that Zach is out for the season, we have some key pieces that we need to be making the most of when it comes to the trade deadline. And a couple of those pieces we'll talk about today. Because really the dawn of a new era must be up on us very soon. And I don't think that we're going to sit out the trade deadline just like we have the last few seasons. I think we need to make some moves. And there's no real crystal ball about what's going to happen, but I think there's some key pieces that we need to talk about that we need to make a move on. The first one, Andre Drummond. Now, people forget Detroit Pistons Andre Drummond, and he's given us flashes of that this year. And Drummond has the ability to defend and go chest to chest with Jokic, Embiid, Giannis, Towns, Gobert. He fills a spot for a lot of teams. And there would be a handful of contending teams that would be itching to have the big man come off the bench. Now, we have a look at his salary. He's only on a cheap $3.4 million salary. So even teams with a really tricky cap that they need to get into to be able to afford him, they can definitely squeeze him in by making a few quick moves. Now, at 30 years old, he's still got some life left in him. He could be very valuable to a championship team. And I think we could get a fair chunk back for him. Maybe a draft pick, or maybe a good young player who's on the fringe of making a starting side. But Drummond's been playing well enough this year to attract enough interest to get something sizable in return. I think we need to make that move. Next one is Caruso. Now, as much as everyone loves Caruso, I love Caruso. It's so fun to watch, the energy, the defensive. But if we're not going to be competing for a championship, we're wasting having him. And you can imagine the haul of assets that someone would be willing to give up. Teams that are, wanting to compete for a championship could 100% add a Caruso type player. Now, if we have a look at some of Caruso, 2022-23 all-defensive first-team player. He's only on $9.5 million salary and is on one of the best non-rookie scale pay rates around. So when it comes to a trade value, his trade market is worth a fortune. And you could possibly get a couple of draft picks back or a decent vet with a draft pick. And I think there's no option but to pull the trigger on this. We have to make a move. With the team that we have, we're not going to compete. We're just getting squeezed like a sardine in the middle of the field again. And we have some assets this year that we need to make a move. And as much as you don't want to see these guys leave, they will bring assets that will give us a better long-term situation. Now, Drummond's been playing exceptional. I've been really enjoyed Drummond this year. Caruso the same. Now, one that doesn't get talked about enough this year, I think, is Demar Derozan. Now, no one ever wants to talk about veteran players because it feels like it's a taboo subject. And there was possibly talk about DeRozan getting an extension. But he's not that guy. He's not going to get us to a championship. We've seen that in San Antonio. I don't know why everyone thought it was going to be different in Chicago, maybe surrounding him with different players. But we only have a few months left because if we don't trade DeRozan, we run the risk of having him walk away for zero. For absolutely nothing. So at 34 years old, sure, he's averaging good offensive numbers, 22 and 5. But there isn't a lot of teams that are going to be willing to take that on, especially contender teams. He has a limited three-point range. He's sometimes a defensive liability. At 34, he doesn't have the flash that he used to have. And he's competing against guys like Ant Edwards now at that level. So I don't know what we do with him. If it's me, I think I trade him for something because I'd rather get a draft pick or even a second round pick and a veteran maybe. But it'd be a shame to see him walk for nothing, and that's a high possibility. that could happen. So that's really where I'd sit with those three. Everyone else, I don't really know. I think we hold on. The only other one you could probably get some value for is a Pat Will, who may want to further develop his skill set. But I don't know. For me, it's Drummond, it's DeRozan, and it's Caruso. I'm reloading. I'm getting some draft picks, and I'm moving on and looking into a 2, 3, 4, 5 year window from here on. Let's see what we do.